In this video, we will talk about tautologies and contradictions. A tautology is a combination of statements that is always true, which means all the truth values in a truth table are true. And contradiction is a combination of statements that is always false, which means all the truth values in a truth table are false. For example, someone may say, I am late, or I am on time. So this statement is always true because one of these two must be always true. This is a tautology. And this we can denote as P for I am late, or not P for I am on time. So this is a tautology. An example of a contradiction in the similar sense can be something like I am late and I am on time. This can never happen because being late and being on time at the same time cannot happen. So this is a contradiction. P and not P is a contradiction. So these are the simplest examples of tautology and contradictions. Next, let's look at a few more examples. We want to verify if these are tautologies or contradictions or neither. So we will just do both of these in the same truth table and see if truth values are all true or are all false or neither. Let's put down the values we need for truth table. We need P, Q. Looks like we need not P and not Q also. So I'll put those here, not P, not Q. Then we need P and not Q. This part, P and not Q. Then we need this whole thing, not P or P and not Q. Now we can combine this with P and Q to get the first expression, but before that we need P and Q. Now we can combine these two to get the first expression. So we have not P or P and not Q, or P and Q. So this will give us the first expression. Let's see what we need for the second expression. We need P and not Q. We already have that here. And we need not P or Q. So let's have a column for not P or Q. So we can combine this and that to get the second expression. P and not Q and not P or Q. Now we are ready to write down the truth values. First, we want to put down all the possible combinations of truth values of P and Q. So we have true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. So now we have column for not P. So we just negate the P column. We have false, false, true, true. We have not Q. We just negate the Q column. False, true, false, true. We have P and not Q. P and not Q. So we combine these two to get this one, P and not Q. True and false would be false. True and true is true. false and false is false, false and true is false. So these are the values for P and not Q. Next we have not P or P and not Q. So P and not Q is this column. We combine that with not P. So we are looking at this one combined with this one. By or, so we have false or false is false. We have false or true is true. True or false is true. True or false is true. So we got this column. Next we have P and Q. We are just looking at the first two columns and combining by and. True and true is true. True and false is false. False and true is false. And false and false is false. Done with this column. So now to get this column, we are just looking at this column and that column and combining them by or. So we have false or true is true. True or false is true. True or false is true. True or false is true. So for the first part, we got all truths. That means this is a tautology. The first one is a tautology. Now let's complete the table so that we have the second one also. Next, we need not P or Q. Not P is this column here or Q. So we are combining those two. True or false is true. False or false is false. True or true is true. And false or true is true. And finally, we can calculate this column. The column for second part, the second expression. So we have P and not Q, which is given by this one here. And we are combining that with not P or Q, which is given by this one. So we combine those two to get that column with and. So we have false and true is false. We have true and false is false. We have false and true is false. And we have false and true is false. So we get all false values. That means this is a contradiction. So we just figured out that this is a tautology and this is a contradiction. Let's look at the next example now. Again, we want to determine if this expression is a tautology or contradiction or neither. So we have P, Q, and R. We will need columns for P, Q, and R. And we need to evaluate this expression. So it looks like we need P and Q. Then we need R and not Q. And then we need to combine those two. We have P and Q and R and not Q. So we have P and Q. So we first list all the possible truth values of P, Q, and R, all possible combinations of truth values of P, Q, and R. We can just list them this way: false, 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 false. I'm going to have to extend the table. True, true, false, false. true, true, false, false. This way we get all the possible combinations of truth values of P, Q, and R. True, false, and false. Now let's find P and Q. True and true is true, true and true is true for the second row also. True and false is false, true and false is false. False and true is false, false and true is false, false and false is false, false and false is false, and the last one, false and false is false. Next, we need to get R and not Q. So looks like for this, we need not Q. So I'm going to insert one column for not Q. Maybe here. So let's evaluate not Q first. So not Q is just the negation of Q. The first one would be false, false, negation of false now is true, true, false, false, true, true. So we have these. Now we are ready to find R and not Q. So we are just looking at these two columns, R and not Q. These two columns. So true and false is false. False and false is false. True and true is true. False and true is false. True and false is false. False and false is false. True, false, and true is false. So we got all truth values for this column. Now the final calculation here. So P and Q and R and not Q. So we're combining these two columns by and. So we have true and false, false. We have true and false, false. False and true is false. False and false is false. False, false, false and true is false, and false. We got all of them false. Looks like I got one extra false over here. So now, since we got all of them false, we can conclude that this is a contradiction.